Uh, I'll be honest. Uh, I put out those videos that night and I went to sleep. And I slept good. And I woke up the next day and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But I had already committed to the fact that I was going to be playing Lost Ark for like the next few days. So I just went off and I kept on playing Lost Ark. And then I came back. And when I came back, oh boy, comment section had devolved into civil war. You had the Wanda defenders on one side, and you had the Wanda haters on the other side, and you had the people trying to make valid arguments in the middle. For the defenders and haters, I'm going to kind of, and when I say defenders and haters, I'm talking about the people who kind of took everything to like an extreme that didn't get you banned from the channel, but there were a couple extreme takes that kind of got you hidden from the channel. So you can post and your shit just won't pop up. Now you know why. But we are gonna take some of the comments that I saw, because a lot of the comments for the most part were exactly the same. And I'm just gonna disassemble the comments and give my responses because I think it's better in a video talking about it. Now, the very first one, Billy Hargrove, so sorry that you died in Stranger Things, but Stranger Things, the new season's coming out, so that's going to be super fucking exciting. Billy says, Wanda, that does not seem fair. His response, well, number one, you enslaved the town for selfish reasons. You started the Civil War, and you are messing with the multiverse to see your kids who she only had for 4 days. And his last one, number four, is wired, but hear me out. She's banging a child because Vision is literally a kid. I don't really understand that last one because what's the definition of the growth between a child, adult, and old man in regards to a computer that can learn things 10,000 times faster than you can? Vision has more or less evolved at such a rapid pace beyond anything that humans would even be able to comprehend, that to think that a synthezoid who can read Dostoevsky in under a microsecond and who thinks on a completely different plane from humans should be equated age-wise to humans as well. Not even looking at the fact that Vision is a hybrid of both Ultron and Jarvis. So that attack in the fourth take more lands on the side of Ultron, since Ultron was made a couple days ago, but doesn't really land on the side of Vision, since Vision is also based on Jarvis, who Tony had for decades. But that's a weird take. I know you said it was wired, so we're just gonna take that one, throw it away. Let's talk about the first one. Enslave the town for selfish reasons. They weren't selfish. The reasons were super straightforward in WandaVision. She had a mental break. Not only was Wanda dealing with psychological trauma, she was also dealing with emotional trauma due to the fact that Vision was dead. And Vision was the her chance at a normal life. And that's super weird to say because Vision is a synthezoid. But for the most part, Wanda and Vision went so well together because he was able to deal with her more weirder quirks because he had quirks as well. Because of that, they were going to go off and essentially live a normal, happy life in the middle of nowhere. The place where Wanda breaks down, Westview, wasn't just a random town. It was the town that Vision bought a home in for him and Wanda to live in. Upon his death, the deeds arrived to Wanda. She had them in her hand when she finally broke down and just accidentally created the hex. It wasn't a malicious act. Now, after she realized that the hex was hurting people, bringing the people back into the hex and keeping it going, that's kind of malicious. But at that point in time, she was basically attempting to hold on to the only point in her life that wasn't shit. So I can't really look at Wanda and say that she enslaved the town for selfish reasons when, one, the reason why the entire town got enslaved wasn't a self-conscious choice, and two, she let them go. Like, if it was truly selfish reasons, it's kind of like what Monica Rambeau said to her later on, which is, you're holding on to everything, and those people are still feeling all of your experiences and feeling your pain. It's one of the reasons why when she let the people go, they just kind of looked at her because essentially they've been linked to her and been living inside of her head for months, days. Feels like it was only a couple weeks in WandaVision that the entire Hex situation had been created. Now, as regards to the children weren't connected to Wanda. She makes it very clear that all the children were basically asleep and protected by her power and kept away so that they weren't injured and harmed in any way, shape, and form. So for those kids, they're just going to wake up and a week has been gone. Number 2, started the Civil War. She did not. Tony Stark started Civil War. Civil War did not start in Civil War. It did not start because Wanda threw crossbones up into the sky and he blew up and he killed a bunch of people. Civil War started in Avengers Age of Ultron. Tony built Ultron. Ultron went off the rails. Ultron flew off to Sokovia, created a gigantic machine, and attempted to nuke the entire planet using a country as an asteroid. They destroyed the asteroid, wiped out an entire country. At that point in time, other countries looked around and went, yeah, we cannot allow the Avengers to basically run off and do whatever they want. So the Sokovia Accords, which is what they're called, were essentially being prepared and made before Civil War happened. They were on the table. Wanda throwing crossbones into the air and blowing up a building is what pushed it into the forefront and led to essentially Ross and everyone going, no, the Avengers can't go off and do whatever they want. This is the latest incident that proves that they need oversight. So she didn't start Civil War. Tony started Civil War. Sokovia Accords were created because of Civil War. Tony and Cap were always going to have essentially that clash because their ideologies are completely different. You could even say that for the most part, Wanda was on Tony's side in the beginning because she was also terrified of her powers. But when Clint came to get her, she realized that she shouldn't be terrified of her powers. Her powers are who is essentially, who she is. She's messing with the multiverse so she can see her kids who she only had for 4 days. She hasn't really been messing with the multiverse, at least not from what we've seen. At least from the trailer, it looks like Wanda's just basically living in the middle of nowhere, reading from the Darkhold. Now, at the end of WandaVision, she does hear the twins, but for the most part, we don't see her like ripping open portals and hopping through the multiverse. When Strange goes to speak with her at her orchard, she basically tells him that Vision had a theory about how the multiverse works, and he says the multiverse was dangerous. So Wanda was aware of the multiverse, but she didn't do anything to essentially go and mess with the multiverse. And none of this really addresses Wanda's trauma, which I should probably do a video talking about just trauma in general inside of the MCU, because Marvel has done a really great job in the Disney Plus shows of going over character trauma. And they did not do a good job of going over character trauma in the movies itself. It's nuanced, it's in the background. If you know what to look for, you'll see it. But they really don't do a good job of addressing trauma. For instance, Tony Stark. The very first movie, leading into the second movie, he has PTSD. His PTSD is compounded in Avengers when he takes the nuke into space and he sees the Chitauri fleet. Now he has full-blown PTSD, and we see the effects of that PTSD in Iron Man 3. He still has PTSD from Age of Ultron, from when Wanda messed with his mind and he saw the vision of everyone dead except for him, where he was dealing with survivor's guilt. He never got over the survivor's guilt. The survivor's guilt actually ends up coming back in Infinity War, when he sees everyone turn to dust and then Peter turns to dust. His survivor guilt completely blows up, and it actually is what feeds into his reaction upon seeing Cap and his stance about not helping them at first, which is his survivor's guilt compounded by his PTSD of his experience with Thanos mushed together. And when he got back, he ripped the arc reactor off his chest and pushed it towards Cap. And he was like, you put on the suit, you go out there and fight him because you're nothing more than a liar, because when I needed your help, you weren't there. That's his survivor's guilt. He was always relying on Cap to be there for him so they can get the job done. When Cap wasn't there, he was the last man standing on an entire planet by himself, with Nebula, of course, but by himself. But yeah, those are the responses to yours. Let's move on to the next person. Happy Meal plays. Doctor Strange made a mistake while performing a spell that would fix someone's life. She enslaved the town because her sex doll broke. We really need to stop this Vision slander. Like, we need to cease the Vision slander, okay? But this is a complete sidebar. So Vision can phase, right? Like we see in Infinity War that he does have a human body, but at the exact same time, we've seen his naked synthezoid self and he doesn't have a dick. So is he a sex doll? Like, are they having sex? Because they didn't have sex in WandaVision. She just kind of ended up having the twins. So how does that work? Does Vision have genitalia? That's going to be a video for another day. Like I said before, in like the last one, I really think I went over it super well. She didn't enslave it the entire time because her sex doll broke. She accidentally lost control of her powers and did something that she wasn't even aware that she could do, because she was essentially dealing with multiple stages of grief and trauma, and sitting in the pre-built home that Vision wanted to build his life with her in, she just lost control. There's been multiple characters in the MCU who've absolutely lost control and has led to the deaths and of multiple people inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But like I said in like the last post from what is his name? Billy Hargrove. Yeah, like it was emotional and mental trauma that literally started from when she was a child into being a freedom fighter, losing her brother, teaming up with the Avengers, never feeling like she's fitting in, her accidental killing of the Wakandan medical staff when Crossbones tries to detonate a bomb in a flea market. There was just a lot going on with Wanda mentally that she never was able to resolve, and it finally just all came out. It's kind of like one of those things where you hear when people bottle shit up for a really long time, they just absolutely lose their cool and they start screaming or hysterically crying. For somebody with superpowers that can warp reality, it kind of gets super dangerous. But no one died in WandaVision. Yes, she did enslave an entire town, but at the exact same time, no one died. Like, she didn't kill anyone, which is good. Green. Strange broke the rules for Peter and Peter's family and friends, while Wanda took an entire town hostage accidentally because she was sad. That is making a post while not really addressing what was actually going on with Wanda, which I feel as though I've really dealt with going on with Wanda. Now, here's the thing. Doctor Strange broke the rules for Peter and Peter's family and friends. Where did they end up? Because Strange broke the rules to help Peter. How? Because at the end of No Way Home, May is dead. MJ doesn't remember him. Ned doesn't remember him. Happy doesn't remember him. No one remembers him. No one remembers Peter Parker. Peter Parker fundamentally does not exist anywhere. The only person that people remember is Spider-Man. That's it. They know Spider-Man, but they have no idea who Peter is. Peter Parker has never been in a more lonely, by himself situation. So the question really has to be asked, is this really better? Is this better with his aunt dead, with his friends not remembering him, even his secondary friends not remembering him, or his fans like Flash Thompson not remembering him? So you could say that Strange broke the rules and completely fucked Peter's life more than his life was already fucked by Mysterio. It's a weird bag. And at the exact same time, Strange broke the rules. Like, it's not like a pat on the back, like, oh, hey, you can break the rules when, you think you're doing it to help. No, Wong told him that the spell was a bad idea, that he was going to fuck this up. He fucked it up. Why would you... Ah! Let's see. T-Stam, 354, bro. Wanda's not the only one out of Captain America's team who has actual powers, but she has dangerous powers, so that's why they took the extra precautions on her, obviously. Also, Wanda consciously put innocent townspeople through misery because she was sad about her. What is this sex doll thing with Vision? He doesn't have a dick. So he can't be a sex doll. Vision has no dick. Like the fundamental reason for being a sex doll is having the correct anatomy. If your sex doll does not have a dick, it is not a sex doll. It is just a doll. Those are words that I never thought I'd have to say online. But it's the honest truth. Like, this weird, like, sex doll fixation that people have with Vision is super weird. Because we have physically seen Vision has no dick. None whatsoever. Where was I? And Doctor Strange was trying to help Spider-Man, and Peter was not the reason the spell. Wait, what? And Peter was the reason the spell went wrong. They are not comparable. They absolutely are. They absolutely are. The difference is Strange dealt with his emotional bullshit in his first movie. What do you think the first Doctor Strange movie basically is? The first Doctor Strange movie is essentially Doctor Strange dealing with emotional and physical trauma, going to Comertage, learning magic, not dealing with his physical and emotional trauma, and then realizing that he has to let all that shit go because there's a higher calling and people who actually need his help. That was the journey Strange was on in the very first movie. Just because Strange got over his bullshit doesn't mean that Wanda was supposed to get over her bullshit. She was dealing with grief. But we never actually physically saw her deal with all of her grief. We didn't see her, like, we know her parents were dead, but we never saw her grieve over her parents. We saw her slightly grieve over Vision, and then she was snapped out of existence. Then she came back in Endgame and was instantly in a fight. WandaVision takes place, I think, a couple weeks after Endgame. Like, a random organization kidnaps your boyfriend's body and has been chopping them up and experimenting on him. Yeah, she was pissed off. And she didn't even take the body. She fucking left it there, and they continued experimenting on the body. But it's like I said, all they needed was a trigger. She's been suppressing her powers forever. When she finally got to that location where she was going to be able to build a normal life, because her life has never been normal at all. From being street urchins to being experiments to being on Ultron's side to being Avengers to not being Avengers to this point. Her life has not been normal whatsoever. It's been pretty shitty. It's been fucked. When you finally stand in the ruins of what was supposed to be your normal house, and you don't have any control over your powers, and you just kind of scream out in agony, she did something that she wasn't even aware that she could do. She warped reality and created a temporal bubble. Temporal bubble? A pocket bubble. More like a pocket bubble, because this is a pocket universe. This is like an exterior universe around it, but then inside the bubble is like another universe where she essentially controls reality. To the first part about Wanda being more dangerous, here's the thing. The thing that she has around her neck, it's an inhibitor collar. It takes your powers away. You see a version of this in Deadpool 2, where when all the prisoners who are mutants are in that prison, they're all wearing the inhibitor collars. None of their powers work at all in any way, shape, or form. Once you slap that inhibitor collar on Wanda, that's it. There's no reason to put her in a straitjacket and then put her in a device that completely locks down her body. She's not Bruce Banner. She isn't going to turn into the Hulk and werewolf out of that fucking prison. Like, the collar was enough. You could have just slapped the inhibitor collar on, toss her in a cell, call it a day. That's done with. She's not going anywhere. If you want to go like an extra board, like bind her hands or something. Because even I said when I was watching that movie that was fucking overkill. I was like, holy shit, they have Wanda on absolute fucking lockdown. Okay. But why? You didn't need all that type of stuff. Like, why'd Wanda get the next level treatment, but you put Clint Barton, the super assassin of S.H.I.E.L.D., in a regular ass cell? Like, if Clint didn't get serious, he wasn't gonna just bust out of there and probably beat everybody's ass on the raft anyway. Some of these were like super hilarious. Let's see. Next one. Can I scroll up this? Yes, I can. Strange broke the rules for selfless reasons that didn't harm others. Wanda did it for selfish reasons. Killed a lot of people. She killed no one. No one. No one died in Westview. Everyone lived. Why do people keep saying that Wanda killed people? She didn't kill anyone. Now, did she torture a whole town? Yes. But did she know they were being tortured? No. Wanda wasn't aware of the fact that they were being tortured until the hex broke and the spell was no longer on them. And they were basically saying shit from her dreams and her nightmares. And they were like, yo, like, I know everything that's going on with you. Like, all of your pain, all of your sorrow, all of your grief is like, oh, I feel all that. Like, we all feel that. We're all feeling it. Like, we're all being drowned in your emotions. But she didn't understand the full extent of the hex when she created the hex. She didn't know what the fuck she did. All she knows is that, like, she did a thing and all of a sudden Vision was back and she was living in, like, the perfect reality. That's it. That's it. Strange broke the rule for selfless reasons. He didn't break the rules for selfless reasons. Strange broke the rules because he knew he could cast a spell that could fix this shit. It wasn't like, oh my god, Peter, such problems that you're going through. Let me give you a hug and cast this spell to fix your life. No, because once he figures out that Peter didn't go through the right steps to fix his own life, he kicks him out of the Sanctum Sanctorum. If he wanted to help him, he would have cast a spell the second Peter showed up. Instead, he kicks him out of Sanctum Sanctorum. He goes off. No, wait, I take that back. He did not kick him out of Sanctum Sanctorum. He kicked him out of Sanctum Sanctorum after Peter told him that he didn't go and talk to the lady from the fucking school, and then he went to the bridge and he ran into the Doc Ock and the Green Goblin. Man, that movie needs to come out on DVD because I want to watch that. I want to watch that again. I'm going off my memory here. But he didn't do it for selfless reasons. He did it because he's a superior dick. He's always been a dick. That's Doctor Strange's thing. Doctor Strange's thing is that he's a dick. He feels as though, like, the rules don't apply to him. Which is why before Wong left, Wong told him, do not cast that spell because that spell is fucking dangerous. He did it anyway. Now he's dealing with the repercussions of his actions. Because, you know, hey, it's not like I said before, him casting the spell didn't get May killed or didn't completely fucking ruin Peter's life to the point where he's basically living on his own, where none of his family members or friends remember him in any way, shape, or form. What's the last part of this? Seems pretty fair to see Strange as the hero and her as the villain. No, it's not. Well, yes, it is. It's kind of like a mixed bag. So, for the most part, Strange has never really done anything that I would say is villainous or ambiguous in a way that you would look at and you would go, if this was the real world, you'd probably be fucking arrested for essentially doing what you're doing. Now, him casting the spell definitely broke rules. That's definitely one of the spells that you're not supposed to cast. If Kamar-Taj has a rule where you're not supposed to mess with time, I'm fairly certain messing with the fabric of reality for an entire fucking planet is definitely against the major rules of Kamar-Taj. Strange was able to get away with that because essentially he's best friends with Wong and he was supposed to be Sorcerer Supreme. But at the exact same time, the leader of your organization just gave you an order, don't do that, and he goes off and he does it anyway. So it's not selfless in any way, shape, or form. Strange did it because he knew he could do it and because he felt as though he'd be able to get away with it because, like he told Wong, I've cast this spell before, to which Wong went, when? And he was like, exactly. So he's done this bullshit before. The arguments in this are always super weird because people put Strange like up here when he's a dickhead. He really used to be brought down just a little bit. That's the entire thing about like Strange's mentality. You've seen the extreme version of Strange in the form of Doctor Strange Supreme. But I don't know. Like, you keep saying Wanda did this for selfish reasons. How is it a selfish reason when you don't have control over your power? Like, she didn't like go to Westview and pick Westview. She went to Westview because that's where the house was that Vision bought her. And, you know, in her grief, she created the hex and she was living in the perfect reality. Now, you could say that it turns into selfishness when she came out of the hex and told them to stay out. And she went back in knowing that essentially she'd taken over this town. But then you see another side of Wanda when she's fighting Agatha, like I've said before, when the hex comes down and the people are no longer enchanted, and she's like, holy fucking shit, I've been doing this the entire time. I gotta let this go. And she did. She let it go. She didn't become fucking Doctor Doom and sit in the town the entire time, not wanting to go anywhere. Just, was that the last one? I think that might have been the last one. Word? No, it ain't. Ain't the last one. Ellie in. It is fair. She can't control her powers. No, she can't. Well, then she couldn't. By now, I'd say she has better mastery of her abilities. She does bad stuff. She didn't really. She did bad stuff. Until she can be a useful Avenger and not muck up, she will never be able to change her image. After all, damage is done. How is she going to keep on living and not be responsible for her actions? Though Stark really didn't help by hiding her. Okay, I've addressed 80% of this before. How is she going to keep on living and not be responsible for her actions? Really? Really? Okay, let's start off with Iron Man. Where should I start with Iron Man? Tony Stark was a drunk and a womanizer. He didn't pay any attention to his company in any way, shape, or form. Obadiah Stane was allowed to continue selling Stark weapons to terrorists who used those weapons to kill American soldiers. Now, Tony rehabilitated the image of Stark Enterprises. Then, in one fell swoop in the second movie, he goes back to being a drunk because, of course, he's dying, so he has a valid reason. Because from the last few comments, it seems as though, if Tony was dying, he definitely has a valid reason to be a dick, to basically Rhodey and everyone, put his life in danger, put other people's life in danger, not pay attention to the actual threat of Vonko, allow Vonko to take over an entire fleet of hammer droids, and basically blow this shit out of Queens. Where's the Stark Expo? Queens? Brooklyn? I think the Stark Expo was in Brooklyn. Blow the shit out of the Stark Expo on a piece of Brooklyn. Alright, fine. Let's jump on to Iron Man 3. No, hold on. Let's go to Avengers Age of Ultron. Against the advice of everyone, he dabbles in something bigger than Jarvis. Ends up creating Ultron, right? Ultron goes free. He starts causing havoc across the entire fucking globe. Turns an entire country into a meteor. Blows up the meteor. Wipes out the vast majority of the country. That was Tony Stark's fault. Like, if he hadn't been dabbling with the Mind Stone, like Thor told him not to, Ultron would have never been created. Sokovia wouldn't have been blown to shit. Sokovia being blown to shit wouldn't have led to the Accords. The Accords would not have led to Civil War. Civil War would not have led to the Avengers being essentially broken up when Thanos came knocking. See what I mean? Like, when does Tony take responsibility for his bullshit? When does that happen? The only one time we see Tony take responsibility low key wasn't even for something that was was that his fault? Or was that a picture of the Hulk? What is that? Iron Man 3? Is it Iron Man 3 that lady confronts Tony? Or did she confront Tony in Civil War? Where she was like, my son went abroad. That was Civil War. My son went abroad and he chose Sokovia and you guys blew up a fucking thing and he died. The Sokovia Accords was Tony attempting to take responsibility for his actions. It only made things worse. And when the world needed the Avengers the most, they weren't together. But it's super weird. Like, Clint Barton literally ran around the entire planet killing bad guys and a couple innocent people, and he gets to go home to his family for Christmas. Natasha Romanoff was legitimately a fucking Black Widow with, as everyone in the Black Widow movie said, a fuck ton of blood in her ledger that will never get washed out no matter how many people she saves. She's allowed to go off and sacrifice herself, and everybody's like, oh my god, Natasha, how can Natasha sacrifice herself? Bruce Banner has literally killed people as the Hulk, which was one of the reasons why he was always emotionally terrified to turn into the Hulk, because he'd lose control and he wouldn't be able to protect the people around him the way in which he wanted to. It's like everybody, the only person on the Avengers who didn't have a body count was Thor and Vision. Because even Cap, like you look at Cap and he definitely breaks a few military rules here and there, but Cap is pretty much altruistic. Like, yeah, Cap, Thor, Vision. The only three members of the Avengers who didn't get up to any fuck shit that killed a fuck ton of people. That's it. Everybody, so why do all the other Avengers get a pass for being able to move on and not take responsibility for their actions, but Wanda has to take responsibility for her actions because in her grief she let her powers flow and accidentally created a bubble reality over a fucking town so that she can be happy for once in her life. That's super weird to me. Poor woman, she just held the town hostage because she couldn't get over her crush over a male. What is up with the sex droid stuff? This is like people really like Vision. Like it's all about Vision and his dick. And that's super weird. But yeah. Yeah. This is an experience. I definitely said that I need to do more of these. We should do more of these because 31 minutes? That took a fuck ton of time. Oh man. And I have like other videos I need to work on as well. But yeah, the comment section on this was just astounding to me because so many people missed the mark in regards to Wanda's character, and it's legitimately baffling across the board. But yeah, that's that video. I've talked about this enough. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't know. I'll be in the comment section for this video, responding to like a couple questions, or if anybody decides to comment on this that's currently following the channel going on in the future. Like, look, there's no malice, there's no hate in any way, shape, or form. Everyone is allowed to share their opinions on my channel, unless your opinion are hateful as fuck. If your opinions are hateful as fuck, you're gonna get banned from the channel. Well, you're not gonna get banned, but your comments are definitely gonna get fucking hidden because no, we're not doing that. But like for comments like these, there's no hate, there's no malice whatsoever. I really just wanted to pull a lot of these comments because these comments were essentially the core of the discussion that was happening in regards to Wanda Maximoff and like her grief and the hex and whether or not what she said in Multiverse of Madness is fair, if it isn't fair, and yeah, we're done. we're moving on. I will catch you in another one. Peace.